Some folks believe your favorite chair is your best friend, a trusted companion through lazy afternoons, lukewarm coffee, and half-finished crossword puzzles. But let's be honest, your chair is not your friend. It's more like that sweet-talking neighbor who keeps borrowing your tools until one day your whole shed's empty. Welcome, my dear ones, to Buddhist Wisdom for the Elderly, where we gently, lovingly, and sometimes darkly tell you the truths you've been too polite to say out loud. And today, the truth is simple. Your beloved chair is quietly aging you faster than time itself. We don't agree with this betrayal. We don't accept it, and by the end of this video, you won't either. In each part of today's journey, we'll show you what the invisible crime is, why it's silently stealing your vitality, a real story from someone who learned the hard way, and what simple change you can make to take your life back. And if you only remember one thing, stay for part 5, where you'll learn how a tiny slouch could quietly erase your memories, your stories, even your name itself. That's not fear-mongering, that's a mercy warning. If this message resonates, help us reach 1,000 subscribers by liking and subscribing. It gives us the fuel and the joy to keep creating more wisdom for you and those you love. Now sit up straight, breathe like you mean it, and let's begin. Part 1. The Silent Slouch. How your spine became a sad pancake. Let's start with the easiest betrayal to spot and the hardest to admit, your spine. Right now, as you listen, there's a good chance you're not sitting like the glorious, majestic creature you were born to be. Nope, you're sitting like a melting snowman, head drooping forward, shoulders collapsing inward, lower back sagging like a hammock after a flood. Don't worry, you're in good company. Most of us don't sit like kings and queens. We sit like people who gave up halfway through a crossword puzzle. But here's the quiet horror nobody told you. Every inch you slouch forward adds up to 60 pounds of extra pressure on your spine. 60 pounds. That's like strapping a teenager to your head and pretending it's fine. Your spine, that beautiful miracle of architecture, wasn't built to carry despair. It was built to carry your life force, your dignity, your dreams. But over time, with every lazy sink into the couch, with every shrug that says, it's too late for me, your spine gets the message loud and clear, nobody's home anymore, you can start collapsing now. And collapse it does. Disc by disc, vertebra by vertebra, nerve by suffering nerve. Take Gerald, for example. A lovely man I met last year, smart, kind, funny. By 73, he thought his biggest enemy was time. Turns out it was his recliner. Gerald spent his evenings sunken so deep into his chair that he looked like he was being swallowed whole. It felt comfortable until it didn't. First came the back pain, then came the dizziness, then came the terrifying moment he stood up too fast and nearly collapsed at his granddaughter's piano recital. His doctor couldn't find anything obviously wrong. His heart was fine. His blood work was decent. It wasn't until a specialist took one look at how Gerald sat that the real villain came into focus. Not a disease, not a stroke, just years and years of telling his spine, "It's okay, buddy, you can rot now." The worst part? Gerald thought he was just relaxing. He had no idea he was quietly crushing the nerves, discs, and organs that were supposed to carry him into old age with pride. But here's the good news, and it's ridiculously good news. Gerald made one small change. He sat differently. He respected the architecture. He treated his spine like a living cathedral instead of a collapsing shed. And within a few months, the back pain faded. The dizziness disappeared. His granddaughter got to see him dance. Yes, dance at her high school graduation. It wasn't magic, it was physics. Finally working for him instead of against him. And now it's your turn. It's simple. When you sit, imagine you're balancing a crown on your head, not a bowling ball. Pull your shoulders back gently, like you're proud but merciful. Support your lower back. Align your ears above your shoulders, not hanging out 2 towns ahead of them. Feel it? That tiny adjustment? That's your body remembering it was never meant to fold like an abandoned lawn chair. That's the first step back to vitality. One tiny lift at a time. And trust me, your spine will thank you. Maybe not with words, but definitely with fewer pain pills, fewer tears, and a lot more standing ovations. Part 2. Bloodless warriors, when your legs start plotting a coup. You know what's funny? We spend most of our early life trying to get our legs to move faster. And then somewhere after 60, the legs start plotting a quiet rebellion, and you don't even notice because they're not marching. They're waiting for you to sit just long enough, just long enough to surrender your circulation. Think it's harmless to cross your legs for a few hours? Think again, that little twist at the knees, that casual lean, it's not casual at all. It's a stranglehold on your veins, your blood flow, your life. You're basically playing a game of slow-motion Russian roulette, and the bullet is shaped like a blood clot. Let's talk about Douglas. 76 years old, still sharp, still stubborn, still convinced that age is just a number. His number came up real fast after years of sitting in his recliner with one leg draped over the other, like he was posing for a senior citizen's GQ cover. He ignored the swelling in his calves. He laughed off the numbness in his toes. He told his family it's just old age, get over it. He didn't get over it. He got a blood clot, deep vein thrombosis. The clot broke loose, found its way to his lungs, and nearly ended him in the middle of watching Jeopardy. Imagine that, almost dying because you wanted to be comfortable. Imagine the obituary, beloved grandfather, outwitted by his own recliner. Douglas survived, thank heaven. But he walks a little slower now. A little wiser too, because here's the truth. The furniture stores won't put on the tag. Comfortable chairs kill slowly and politely. They even say please while they do it. You don't have to be Douglas. You can fight back. And you can do it without giving up your TV time, your crossword puzzles, or your late-night bowl of ice cream. Here's how. First, never sit with your knees higher than your hips. When you do, you're kinking the blood highways that keep you alive. Second, uncross those legs. You are not a Victorian lady waiting for a suitor. You are a living being whose veins deserve a clear shot at doing their job. Third, every 20 minutes, pretend you're a kid again. Flex your ankles up and down. Wiggle your toes like you're trying to send a Morse code signal to the universe. Still alive down here. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy. But it's oxygen, blood, and life you're pumping into your future. And when the day comes that you dance, yes, dance, at your great-grandchild's wedding, you'll be glad you didn't let your chair negotiate your early retirement from existence itself. Part 3, Digestive Anarchy, when your stomach writes its resignation letter. Now, if you think your spine and your legs were the only ones filing quiet complaints, wait until you hear what your stomach's been saying behind your back. See your digestive organs, your stomach, intestines, liver, all those loyal little workers. They've been holding a silent protest for years. Not because you ate too many spicy tacos in 1973. Not because you forgot your fiber this morning, but because you're sitting like a soggy, crumpled newspaper, folding them in half every time you sink into your so-called comfortable position. Imagine trying to do your job with a giant fist squeezing your entire workspace. That's what your intestines deal with every time you slump down and say, ah, that's better. Better for your laziness, maybe. But for your digestion, it's a hostage situation. Let me tell you about Evelyn. 71 years old, stubborn as a goat, sweet as pie. She spent years battling acid reflux, bloating, and constipation so fierce it should have had its own zip code. Doctors tried everything. Pills, powders, potions. She tried giving up coffee, then chocolate. Then, God help us, pizza. Nothing worked. She thought she was broken. She thought it was just her fate. Until one afternoon, sitting in yet another sterile doctor's office, her new specialist walked in, looked at her for about 2 seconds, and said, "Sit up." That's it. No new pill, no fancy surgery, just sit up. Turns out Evelyn had been living with her stomach folded in half like a forgotten love letter. Her slouched position compressed her intestines, strangled her digestion, and practically begged for acid to come bubbling up her throat. So she made the change. She sat differently. She put a small cushion behind her lower back. She imagined a golden thread pulling her gently upward from the crown of her head. Within 2 weeks, her acid reflux eased. Within a month, her constipation stopped ruling her life. And 6 months later, she was eating pizza again, like a queen reclaiming her throne. All because she stopped squashing the very organs trying to keep her alive. And now it's your turn. When you sit, don't fold yourself like a suitcase. Create space. Honor the architecture. Sit slightly reclined, about 100 to 110 degrees. Not bolt upright like you're about to be interrogated by the FBI, and not slumped like you've given up hope. Imagine a soft balloon in your belly. You want to give it room to expand, breathe, and do its sacred work. Because your digestion isn't just about food. It's about energy. It's about resilience. It's about being able to laugh at a family barbecue without secretly wondering if you'll pay for it all night. One small shift, one act of kindness toward your own body. And who knows, maybe you too will find yourself celebrating with a slice of forbidden pizza instead of another prescription. Part 4. Breathless by design, why your chair is secretly a vampire. You thought your chair just wanted to cradle you into sweet relaxation? Think again. Your chair is a vampire. And not the sexy kind from movies, the slow, boring kind that drains your life one shallow breath at a time. See, when you slump down, your chest cavity collapses. Your lungs, those precious balloons of life, get squeezed into sad little water balloons. And every breath you take becomes smaller, shallower, and sadder. It's like drinking oxygen through a cocktail straw when you should be chugging it from a fire hose. And here's the real kicker. You won't even notice it at first. You'll just feel a little more tired, a little more foggy, a little less excited to do anything. Until one day, you find yourself saying, maybe I'll skip the walk today. Maybe I'll just sit a little longer. And that's exactly when the vampire smiles and tightens its grip. Victor learned this the hard way. Victor was 74. Had a touch of COPD, sure, but he managed just fine. Until he didn't. Despite his meds, his oxygen levels kept tanking. The doctors were puzzled. The man wasn't even smoking cigars behind the barn anymore. Turns out, Victor's real addiction wasn't tobacco. It was terrible posture. He sat slumped so deeply every evening that his lungs could barely inflate. He wasn't breathing. He was leaking air, like a sad old accordion left out in the rain. His pulmonologist finally figured it out after watching Victor fidget during an appointment, head drooping, shoulders caving, chest compressed like a cheap suitcase. 6 weeks of posture therapy later, Victor was breathing deeper, walking further, and, get this, he finally danced with his wife again at their 50th anniversary party. No supplemental oxygen needed. Imagine that. One tiny adjustment. One decision to sit like a living being instead of a deflating whoopee cushion. You can make that choice today. Here's how. When you sit, pull your shoulders gently back. Not like you're bracing for war, but like you're making a little more room for life to enter. Balance your head over your spine, not hanging forward like you're trying to smell your shoes. And most importantly, learn to breathe into your belly, not just your chest. It's called diaphragmatic breathing. It's not fancy, it's not Instagrammable, but it's the oldest, deepest way to remind your body, I'm still here. I still choose to live. Breathe deeply, sit proudly, and don't let that blood-sucking chair steal another drop of your vitality. You deserve every ounce of oxygen this world can offer you. No more leaking it away like an abandoned beach ball on a windy day. Part 5. Brain Fog Buffet. How slouching turns you into a human paperweight. Now you might be thinking, okay, so my back hurts a little. My legs go numb sometimes. I burp like a lawnmower after dinner. Big deal. But here's where the chair really shows its fangs. Because while you're slouching your way into comfort, you're also quietly starving the most important organ you have, your brain. Yeah, that old wrinkly walnut between your ears, turns out it's pretty fond of oxygen. It gets cranky when you don't deliver. And when you slump forward, compressing your neck, cutting off blood flow through the vertebral arteries like a kinked garden hose, guess what happens? Brain fog. Forgetfulness. That charming, slow slide into, where are my glasses? Oh wait, they're on my face. It's not just aging, it's architecture failure. Bad posture doesn't just make you look tired. It makes you tired. Tired of thinking, tired of remembering, tired of caring. Let me tell you about Beverly. 77, former librarian, sharp as a tack most of her life, until slowly she wasn't. Her family thought it was dementia starting, the forgetfulness, the lost keys, the confusion about dates. But a wise neurologist, bless his stubborn soul, noticed something small that everyone else missed. Beverly sat like a wilted daisy, head craned forward, spine curled like she was trying to become her own walking cane. 3 months of posture therapy later, not only was her memory sharper, she was back doing crossword puzzles that would make younger brains sweat. Turns out, all Beverly needed was more blood in her brain, not more fear in her heart. And now it's your turn to beat the slow creep decay. Here's the move. Right now, yes, right now, check your posture. Is your head hanging out ahead of your shoulders like you're racing toward the grave? Or is it aligned like a proud mountain under a clear sky? If not, tuck your chin back, gently, not like you're trying to disappear, just enough to bring your ears back over your shoulders. Imagine you're creating a double chin, but it's not for a bad photo. It's for your precious future. And keep doing it throughout the day. Gently, kindly, like you're nudging your body back to its original instructions. Because every moment you sit aligned, you're not just saving your spine, your breath, or your digestion. You're saving your memories, your stories, your connection to everything that makes you you. And that's worth sitting up for. You didn't come all this way, decades of living, loving, laughing, just to forget where you put the best parts of yourself. Sit like your memories depend on it, because, quietly and truly, they do. Part 6. The psychological damage of sitting like you've given up. Most people think bad posture only hurts your body. Maybe your back hurts a little, maybe your stomach rebels, maybe you get dizzy when you stand up too fast. Big deal, right? But here's the darker truth. Bad sitting posture doesn't just collapse your body, it collapses your spirit. Every time you slouch, you're sending a message, not to the world, but to yourself. A tiny silent whisper. I'm tired. I'm defeated. I'm small. You don't say it out loud. You don't have to. Your posture says it for you. Every minute you sit crumpled over like a forgotten newspaper, your subconscious mind listens. And it believes you. It believes you when you say, I'm not important anymore. I don't need to take up space. The best parts of me are behind me. And little by little, you start living that message. You start fading. Not because you're old, but because you agreed to it, one slouch at a time. It's not just your back that folds. It's your pride, your dreams, your willingness to be fully, gloriously here. Let me tell you about Charlie, 78, veteran, proud father, once the loudest laugh in any room. But after a couple of surgeries, a long winter stuck indoors, and too many nights in that cursed recliner, Charlie started slouching more and talking less. And eventually, he stopped showing up at the VFW, at church, even at his own granddaughter's school plays. When asked why, he shrugged and said, I guess I just don't feel like it anymore. It wasn't depression in the classic sense. It was something smaller, crueler, the slow erosion of dignity, masked as comfort. Charlie wasn't sick. He was folding, like an old tent left too long in the rain. It wasn't until a stubborn old friend showed up one morning, yanked him out of the recliner and said, Get up, soldier. We're not dead yet, that Charlie finally stood tall again, literally and figuratively. And once he remembered what it felt like to stand proud, to breathe full, to sit like a man who still had stories to tell, he came back to life. Your posture is your private conversation with the universe. Every time you sit upright, you're saying, I'm still here, I still matter, I still have chapters to write. Every time you slump, you're whispering, I'm done. Don't you dare say you're done. Not yet. Not over a chair, not over a little discomfort, not over a tiny habit you can fix today. Sit like someone who still has miracles to witness, because you do. You absolutely do. Part 7. The chair you love is aging you faster than your enemies ever could. You ever notice how the things we love most sometimes betray us the hardest? A favorite food turns into heartburn. A favorite hobby turns into a bad knee. And that favorite chair, oh, that soft, welcoming chair, it turns into your greatest enemy, disguised as an old friend. That chair isn't loyal. It doesn't care how many birthday cards you opened while sitting there. It doesn't care how many late-night talks you had with your grandkids, laughing until you cried. It only cares about one thing, gravity. And gravity, my friend, is not on your side. Gravity is pulling, always pulling. Every hour you lounge into that sagging recliner, every evening you melt a little deeper into that sunken sofa, gravity is licking its lips and saying, good, stay soft, stay weak, stay down. You wouldn't let your worst enemy tie you to a chair and squeeze the life out of your spine, lungs, and heart. But when the chair has a cup holder and a footrest, suddenly it seems reasonable. Let me tell you about two men, Bill and Frank. Same age, same background. Both loved their comfort. Bill stayed moving, kept fixing little things around the house, sat in chairs that made him work a little to stay upright, always said, "If I'm breathing, I'm building." Frank married his recliner, sat there day after day, slowly compressing his body, tightening his breath, numbing his legs. 5 years later, Bill's walking a little slower, sure, but he's walking, he's laughing, he's planning a fishing trip for his 85th birthday. Frank's chair might as well have been a coffin with cushions. It wasn't time that aged Frank faster. It was loyalty to the wrong throne. Your environment is either aging you or saving you. There's no neutral ground. That chair you adore, that one you brag about finding on sale, it's a nice place to sit if your goal is to exit life 10 years earlier than necessary. Or you can make a different choice. Surround yourself with posture allies, not enemies. Chairs that support you, not chairs that surrender you. Set reminders to move. Keep your body honest. Keep your life force awake. Because you are not a melted candle. You are a living flame. And you don't belong hunched over in some sagging monument to giving up. You belong standing tall, breathing deeply. Sitting like someone who plans to outlive the worst odds just to see what happens next. Trust me, the view from an upright spine is a hell of a lot better than the view from a sagging one. So here we are, my friends. You made it. You learned today that the enemy wasn't time. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't even the strange ache in your left knee. It was that smiling chair and the tiny betrayals of posture we all made without noticing. You learned how slouching crushes your spine, starves your legs, folds your organs, steals your breath, and slowly whispers your memories away. But you also learned the counterspell. One tiny adjustment at a time. One quiet rebellion against gravity. One sacred breath filling your lungs like you actually planned to stay alive a little longer than they expected. And isn't that the real lesson? That how you sit is how you live. If today's journey lit a small candle of awareness inside you, even just a flicker, help us keep the light growing. Click like if you smiled. Comment if you caught yourself sitting taller. Share it with someone whose chair might be plotting against them too. And subscribe to help us reach 1,000 strong souls so we can keep creating more small awakenings one video at a time. Until then, sit proud, breathe deep, and remember, even a tiny seed sitting still is becoming a forest.